Cocktails and Comics activate. Shape up Amazing Spider-Man 299 300 and 301.
All right. Welcome to Cocktails and Comics, where we drink tasty beverages while discussing awesome comics. Tonight, we have Venom. We have a cameo, we have a first appearance, and then we got Spider-Man going back to that blue and red costume. So, what happens when Spider-Man comes home to find Mary Jane in hysterics? What could give Mary Jane such a visceral reaction? The strongest woman that Spider-Man knows is in hysterics. What could cause it? Only something that looks like him, only bigger. All right, guys. So, what are we drinking tonight? Mac Daddy Nick over there, what do you got?
We just got a vodka soda, 2 hot whiskey.
All right. And then Daddy Mac Eric, what are you drinking?
Mostly vodka, some tonic in a pint glass.
All right.
Part 2.
That will be special.
And J. Ryan Daddy, what are you drinking?
We got a truly raspberry lime. We got Belvini double wood, baby.
That's good, bro.
Top comedy. Holy shit.
All right. Oh, and I got some, I got some bullet bourbon. Yeah. All right. So, a bullet.
When does all this buzz marketing pay off? we get the sponsorship soon.
Yeah, right.
Just try the Caribbean cast next time.
Hope so. All right, fellas.
Caribbean cast is nice.
So, I guess we got past the first question. Before we do, though, I got something I want to share. If I could find it. Where'd I put it? It was literally right next to me. All right, well. Here it is. Right in front of my face. It's like the OJ in the fridge. All right. As Eric has stated before in the past, this show is basically just so I can show off all my new shit. My comic.
Did anyone think you was going to go with an OJ Simpson reference right there for a second? All right, it's not me.
Yep.
What?
He's gonna cut up that package into pieces.
Ouch.
Too simple.
Well, seems like there's some free comics in here too. All right, guys. So we got Super Mercado free comic book day comic. Yeah. We got Vox Machina free comic book day comic. All right, this is not why you guys came. I know, I feel it. Blade Runner. All right, let's get rid of that. No, this is why we came, guys. I'm now in the ASM 300 Club. It came in. I'm excited. Boom. Throw it up. All right. Yeah. I'm excited. All right.
Hey, that's a True Believers.
What? No. It is.
Check.
Yeah, I did. It's direct edition though. It's not newsstand, so. But the staples are still on it. I'll take it. All right. All right, guys. So let's get into the crux of it. What did we think about David Michelinie's writing? Hey, J. Rye, why don't you tell us what you think?
I think it was awesome. I like the way that one thing that I really loved is the way that it just flowed. It had a really good pace to it, especially with it goes hand in hand with how McFarlane kind of boxed all of the lettering and stuff. But he does this that way it kind of flows from panel to panel, so you don't have stagnant sentences that end the panel. Your eyes are constantly flowing to finish off the sentence, but right there you're already jumping into the next panel, so it just has everything flying at you. So I liked it. It was very lighthearted. It had some very in-depth kind of plot twist in it. So kept on your toes. It was good.
Yeah, totally agree. I enjoyed it. It reminds me of the comic books I grew up on, which is what this is. But it brought me back to a time when comic writing was almost or was just as important as the artwork, you know, and at some points, maybe in modern times, we've lost a little bit of that. But anyway, Daddy Mac, but not Mac Daddy. I want the Daddy Mac to tell me what he thinks.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like it's interesting because I don't think I've gone back to read any of like the 80s 90s Spider-Man stuff in a while. I think I went back and read like Craven's Last Hunt maybe, you know, like last year. I think that was probably the last time. And so it's interesting going back now that we're kind of used to this very spare writing style, you know, everything, all the exposition is in the previously on, you know, page before you dive into the story. So getting all these moments of Peter having to catch us up on what happened, you know, the last issue or two, and giving us all the exposition is something that like, oddly enough, it's still like kind of you have to get used to again, but it's so much fun too, like to get that insight into how he's viewing everything that's going on. And yeah, Justin's commentary about how everything flows on the page is spot on. The way that they break up all those boxes really streamlines things and pushes you through the story. And it's just fun, you know. It's like this is the first incarnation of what will become one of the darkest, you know, villains for him to have to deal with. And yet there's just like goofy ass bullshit that goes on. He's like running into Eddie Murphy and Paul Schaefer, and like
Yes.
just like weird shit.
Yes.
You're like, okay, that's happening. Like, so it's still a lot of fun to go back to.
Yeah, no, I agree with all that. And when I saw Eddie Murphy in there, I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah, apparently he has really tough security.
Yeah, right. Got to get through it first. Mac Daddy, what did you think?
I enjoyed it. I think it was one of the reasons I brought this idea up to you guys about doing this book club, just to read something different. Like, I would have never gone back in time and read this just because it's a little dated in my opinion, but I enjoyed it overall. And definitely enjoyed Mary Jane and Peter's relationship the best. Little private photo collection. Like, okay, it's like the marriage.
Yeah, and I mean that was really funny. I would say like there's a little bit of camp in there, and a little bit of
oh, the writing is ridiculous.
Yeah,
like Gene Willikers sat in.
Oh, yeah, it's a little bit more modern than that, but yeah, and a lot more words on the page than what we're usually used to. But also there's a lot of like tongue-in-cheek stuff, and I like that Venom just quotes like random like TV stuff. Like, you know, he's like, "Hi, honey, I'm home," and he's like, "Won't you be, you know, could you be my neighbor?" Like he's just doing all these weird stuff that we've grown up with.
But then he's also like surprisingly like religious and sort of deep in his like I don't know, there's like this righteous quest for vengeance that like isn't really part of his shtick anymore. Like now he's just so much of like the I'm a damaged dad and blah, blah, blah. Like it's just like all this rough and tumble stuff. And back then it's like he's just like a bodybuilder who thinks he's a priest.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? All right. You forget like where this started and like how far that character development has really come in the last 20 years.
He's like a poor man's Azrael or something. I don't know.
Right. 20 years, 30 years, shit. Jeez.
Yeah.
Or isn't Azrael? Well, Azrael came after him, didn't it?
Yeah, good question. Not sure.
But
But
he honestly feels like a WWF like heel.
Yeah.
yes.
He has that kind of vibe
Absolutely.
where you're just like, I kind of get it, but he's like a little edgy on that sense.
Yeah, he's like Undertaker and Paul Bearer like smashed into one character.
I kind of like how he looked. They drew him a little grittier than the other characters. Like you could tell he's kind of been through the ringer. Like when you get a close up of Brock's face, like he looks like a bodybuilder that likes, to Eric's point, but it looks like he also like smokes cigarettes at the same time.
Oh, he looks like he's seen some shit. He's
Yeah.
He's
Got that like eating like Widow's Peak, like I have, like straight up like stretch.
he's like Mickey Rourke, a wrestler.
Yeah, and yeah, he has some good lines. I mean, even he says like weightlifting is supposed to relieve stress or something along those lines, and he's like, it didn't work. So
Yeah.
he's got some good lines. and he's jacked. But we can talk about his physical appearance with the next question, guys. So, what do we think of the art style? We got Todd the God McFarlane. This is more when he was like Todd the Acolyte McFarlane or something like that. It was before he rose to stardom. But you can see the seeds going there. You can see the artwork. Let's get into it. Mac Daddy. Oh, you're over there. What did you think of Todd McFarlane's artwork?
I got two things. One, I'm going to just say this. Mary Jane looked good. I'm going to put that out there. Like, Mary Jane looked good. But
many a moist tissue.
I was a little like, whoo.
Back in the 80s.
I get the 50 Shades of Grey thing, girl.
Oh, that's the reason why issue 300 retails like so much on the like third party market on eBay and stuff is because most of the copies, all the pages stick together. So it's very rare to find one that you can actually go through.
It's like that issue of New Mutants with Cable and Domino in the hot tub together. It's like those are the ones.
Now I got to go through my issue and make sure the pages are separated.
But it was also cool, kind of reading like a piece of comic history, because that's one of the iconic covers of Spider-Man, right? That Todd McFarlane drew, right? That was the first swinging one.
Yes.
That was the first of that style that he did, yeah. So there's a bunch of
Like
homage
with
covers.
The Spawn ones we went crazy over, right? Like that all came from that. So I thought that was kind of cool. And you could see how you see similarities in his artwork to like Spawn when he did Spawn a little later, but how the style evolved from like period to period. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah. And no, it's true. Like his artwork here, proportions are still a little bit off. He maybe uses a little bit more shadow, but you can see that transfer to Spawn, where Spawn kind of lives in the shadow. I think in one of the issues too, there's just like something he's reading or something actually has like Spawn something on it. Oh no, it's like the side of a building. It's the club, right?
It's the club. And I was going to touch on that because I don't know if that was like an actual like nod to anything, because that was like what, 4 years before he actually started doing Spawn.
Yeah, but apparently Spawn was something that he thought up of as like a teenager. So Spawn was always in his mind, even when he was doing Spider-Man.
He was selling himself way before. He's like, yo guys, like, so you like constantly saw you like Spawn. I know that.
Yeah, so it's gonna come from somewhere. Yeah, Jay, why don't you touch on the artwork?
I loved it. I love the coloring and everything on it too. I think that it really brought out a vibrant side, even though for the most part it was like the dark suitedness of Spider-Man. You saw a bit of the contrast, whereas like you saw a little more of a serious side to Spider-Man, and then kind of you saw him lighten up in after the Venom series in 301. You saw him kind of lighten up, and his mood was a little shiftier than it was lighter than from the original one. I liked it.
Right. No, and I totally agree with you. I think the costume signified a mood change.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he needed to be more, or not needed to be, but when, the time was right, he shifted back to his Joker, prankster, Peter Parker, or Spider-Man, instead of the moody or dark, brooding, I'm going to get you.
Well, to that point, I mean, I haven't really read the comic, but if something comes after your wife, just to play devil's advocate, aren't you going to be in a little bit of a darker mood? Again, I don't know what happened in the issue before that when he had the black suit. I kind of realized midway through that wasn't the symbiote he was wearing.
Right.
That was just a costume.
Yeah, he gets and they allude to it in like the little editor notes when he actually gets rid of the costume with the help of the Fantastic Four. But but he got rid of the costume because the costume was kind of causing him to do stuff that he normally wouldn't do. But even after he got rid of the symbiote, he still had like a little edge to him. But Daddy Mac, Eric, why don't you tell us what you thought of the art?
Yeah, it's a little hit and miss, I think, for me here. Like, a lot of his body types are very similar across people. Like Flash looks like Peter, looks like everybody else, and like it's just like you see Peter, he's just fucking yoked, and like you see him in a suit and he's like a little trimmer, and like there's inconsistencies there, and
I did love that costume that MJ made him change into for
Yeah.
the club.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah. And like as good as MJ looked, Aunt May looked just like Stan Lee without the mustache. Like
I thought you were gonna say like
I-
Aunt May looked good there for a
I
second.
wouldn't.
yeah,
No, I wouldn't have thought Aunt May would still be
Also
around
beautiful.
today. Like, if you saw her in these issues, you have no idea.
Oh,
Like,
God.
why is she still around? She should have
Yeah,
been gone.
I would take Aunt May in Homecoming.
well, yeah, it's a different Aunt May.
Uh,
But
I like
still,
that.
like I liked the nods. Like I love the Spawn, little cameo there is awesome, and he sticks some nice little visual jokes in here and there too. Like when Peter goes into Empire State University and he's talking with the secretary, and there's like the trash bin that's like completely like overflowing. There's just a sign next to it that says "Do not overflow," like or overfill, like just like little stupid shit like that he's like clearly having fun, just even in the backgrounds, is awesome to see.
You know what? That's like, and that's what you kind of expect from a Spider-Man comic.
Yeah, totally, on
Fine.
brand for that.
That lighthearted, like Easter egg kind of thing. Like that's something that you would see.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I liked a lot of like you said, Eric. Just McFarlane throws in little things in the background. He makes the background part of the piece, which is cool because sometimes it's the character and then like blurred out background. And
Yeah.
you could tell he worked on, and obviously he was getting into his groove, but he was working on everything. He was working on the background, working on the characters. And yeah, there is some things that are disproportionate. There are some things that, could use a little work. Yeah, Peter is buff, like you said, in one scene. And then he's looking slim and trim in the next scene. And even if you look at Venom from 299 to 300, and then later on, even in 316, you can tell that he's kind of evolved what he looks like. And you could tell that McFarlane was still evolving as an artist. He wasn't, he didn't stop learning his trade or his craft. In the same vein as like Lee, or not Stan Lee, or I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but there's clearly an artist who stopped learning his craft and stopped drawing feet way back in the 90s.
Probably Field, excuse me.
What, you don't want to start a feud?
No, I've seen what he does.
That guy's
to people.
crazy. That guy's crazy.
But and you could tell, like, by the time he gets to Spawn, it is just like, which is what, 6 years later, it just looks so much smoother. His artwork isn't as jagged. It's cleaner. Backgrounds are cleaner. Detail is even more immaculate. And
And one thing that I could say about the backgrounds in Spider-Man is that he had a lot more real estate to really draw it, because you have to understand, when he does like Spawn or any character with a cape, a good like 70% of each panel is that cape. Like that he accentuates that on every character. So the fact that it had, unless he just was like putting webs all over the place, and then you're just like, oh, I can't see him again.
and that's the other thing. His webs are so, like, I love his webs. They really sell it.
Yeah,
like,
they're a trademark.
yeah, you can tell there's some tensile strength behind those webs. But I don't know. I forget the issue number of the comic, but the Batman, iconic Batman cover that McFarlane drew, the one that's 98% cape.
Yeah.
He was actually talking about it, though, and he's like, when you're under the gun, there's nothing better to draw than a character with a cape, because you can just fill so much of the panel with the cape.
Oh, but I like how he had the things that stuck up, like with the shoulders.
Yeah,
on the cape.
on the yeah, which at times Spawn had too. Batman had him, Spawn had him, but that actually speaks to when he was drawing Spider-Man. He didn't have, like Justin was bringing up too. He didn't have that vice to get him a shortcut. He had to draw Spider-Man in all his funky poses. So kudos to McFarlane.
Yeah, and one thing I could touch upon is the fact that like how he had that like atmosphere of that, like the cape actually has like its own life to it.
Mm-hmm.
You can see that when he has like, Eddie Brock getting taken over by the symbiote, is that like you have that kind of lively, like atmospheric darkness that's like surrounding him. So it kind of goes hand in hand, where he didn't necessarily have the cape, but he had that kind of mentality when he was drawing that, the transfer from Eddie to Venom.
Indeed. So I think we're all in love with the writing. I think we're all in love with the art. Let's just touch on 300. It's considered Venom's first appearance. It is Spider-Man's last issue in the black costume during that period. 299, he's on the panel. He has a little talking. That's considered his second cameo, and then 298 is considered his first cameo. Did anybody think like 299 should kind of be a first appearance? I mean, clearly we see him full. We see him with a line. Well, he has some talking. I don't know.
We read 298.
What's up?
We should have read 298. Like, I didn't read it. I don't know.
Oh, but we read 299.
Yeah.
If you read 299, I'm talking about the last panel.
Well, it's the same. It's the Hulk 180 and Hulk 181 debate. It's like Wolverine full body appearance has a line, and yet it's a cameo, and it's like
right.
Okay, the market has dictated what those terms are at this point. I don't think there's any
right.
course correction for us.
No, and I don't think there's any course correction.
But yeah, I mean, it does seem like as first appearances go, like, sure, it's probably a shitty one if it's just like 2 panels, in the last page of the book. But like, yeah, 300 feels like a more auspicious titling for his first appearance, because it's it's an iconic cover, and it's the whole issue is about Venom and everything. So it makes sense. It's stupid and it's pedantic to try and have these sorts of debates, but I like being pedantic. So.
Yeah. And speaking of iconic covers too, and talking about cover swipes and homages earlier, I think it's really funny that 300 and 301 are basically the same cover.
Oh yeah.
Just black costume to red and blue, and some white background instead of the 300 everywhere.
Yeah, and I think that was intentional. Like, it's the end of one era, the beginning of another, and we're stepping away from that darker zone and going back into this light.
I could see that, the intentional. I just thought like he was under a crunch and was like, you know what, pull the color out.
Like, fine.
Well, if you look at the art style in the comic, I think that's more indicative of his artistic ability, and you could see how, I guess, however the style was for drawing comics, where the cover is so much more detailed, and like I could just see like from Spawn and his other works, that was more indicative of his style. In terms of, was that just like how like the industry was? They weren't really allowed to draw. It was more like uniform, I feel, the style in the 80s. You know what I'm saying?
They had a house style.
It's house style,
yeah. There was also like certain things they couldn't draw, which I think is part of the reason why McFarlane left Marvel. I think there was supposed to be like a sword going through Juggernaut's like eye in some X-Force comic, but they were like, you can't have swords going through heads in the comic and like coming out the other side. And he like drew it with the blade clearly coming out, and he was like, this shit is stupid, if I remember the story correctly. Yeah. And that was part of the impetus for him leaving Marvel, was there was a certain restriction to what you could and couldn't do.
It looked like a 60s comic, kind of like how they drew the faces and everything. And you look at the cover, like it looks like a different artist.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, to an extent. But yeah, I think they were a little bit freer to do covers, but covers were also had to stick within a certain framework as well. Justin, do you have anything to say about the whole debate thing? 299, 300.
I understand exactly why you consider 300 the first appearance, because it has the anniversary tag on it. It's a milestone number of it. So I mean, it would be kind of redundant to have people go out seeking 299 and not really thriving for your milestone comic. So I think that's the reason why you get a little more push from Marvel itself, kind of like claiming, oh, this is like the first appearance, and then we're going to do a first and second cameo. Personally, I would say 299 would be, to me, a first appearance, because it's like you get a sense of what the character looks in a full visual, and you get the sense of his character, of where he has that grimacing like that menacing grimace on his face and scares the living hell out of Mary Jane. So it's like you can just see the complete evil and sadistic nature of Venom. So I mean, that to me is like it captures exactly what Venom is going to do.
Yeah, I agree with what you said. Yeah, if I had $2.99, which I don't have, but I need to grab me one of those. If I had actually, nope, I lied. I do have a $2.99, but I'd be just as excited to show off the $2.99 as I would the 300. It's a 301 I don't have. I gotta hop on one of those.
I think it's most like I was 7 when this book came out, so I wasn't as tied into how the market was going. But I feel like the customers want 300 to be the first appearance because, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but like the print run on 300 is going to be much higher than it was on 299. So all the people who have that book are like, yeah, that's the first one because I want to say that I have the first appearance.
Yeah.
So I definitely see like the pressure coming from our side of things to be like, yeah, I want that because me and all of my friends already have that copy.
Like nobody's running out to get $2.99 for an appearance of Chance. Like
right. Yeah.
But
we're not shit.
Oops.
This comic's older than me.
People are now though. that book took a big bump.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that happens. It's happened with Hulk 181, right? When the book gets outside of a range of people's affordability, they go to the next book. So, all right, you get the full face, full figure of Venom in another book. All right, I'm going to go to that book.
That's why everything has been flip-flopping on Uncanny 266 versus the annual. It's which is Gambit's first appearance? And well, once nobody could afford 266, everybody started saying that it's the annual.
Right?
Like, all right.
Which I have an annual at the LCS I normally go to. It's in the bins. It is labeled $30, a little high, but it's a near mint copy. I hid it in the bins because Labor Day weekend, he's doing a 40% off sale on things in the bins, and I'm going to run in there and get that annual.
Cup's local shop is...
Yeah, I'm not not releasing this video till after Labor Day. No.
But I know where you shop.
Damn it!
So do I.
Damn. Well, I'm a little bit more scared of Justin than Eric because
I will take a road
Justin's
trip.
close.
Just to fuck you over.
And Nick has no idea what we're talking about. So
listening comprehension.
we are good. All right. So yeah, I agree a little bit with what everybody here has to say. Obviously, market dictates. Justin, some good insight onto what's in the books. And Nick, I don't think you talked at all about what we were talking about, but you did.
I did read 298. You brought up 298. I wasn't told to read 298. That's like
you read
298. 298 is just it's like a panel of just the symbiote on Eddie's like.
Yeah,
arm.
it's like this. I could take a Sharpie and I can draw on.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you saw 299, right? You saw him grimacing in 299, and that
your suit grew a tongue, Peter. I laughed at that. I'm sorry.
No,
grew a mouth.
We
don't see the tongue yet. We don't get any of that.
But now we know what Nick's thinking about and MJ and where his
No. MJ said, Peter, your suit grew a tongue, and I thought it was funny.
I thought it was a mouth, but
it's mouth.
No, it's a mouth. It's a mouth.
Yeah. All right. Subliminal messaging there for
well, and it's funny because like I love how like 301 is the last that we see of the black suit, and when doing a little more background research on it, it was because Todd McFarlane didn't like drawing the black suit. It just wasn't in his wheelhouse, and he wanted to do your classic Spider-Man, and you can see he has a lot more shading. There's more depth to the character than just drawing complete black.
Right.
So I found it kind of hilarious reading through it again. And then seeing his all right, we're just gonna trash this thing and throw it in a fire. And so I was like coming back and realizing when you read the story the first time, you're like, oh, this is so symbolic. But maybe it just really came down to that. Yeah, I don't like this. So he just threw it in the trash.
Right. Yeah, he literally throws it in the trash in the comics. That is a very good point. Yeah, and you can see where an artist may may not like drawing that costume because, like you said, it's all black.
Yeah,
with
it's
big
got to be
shade.
super hard. Like, how do you have any kind of definition to something that's just getting printed flat black?
Right.
And McFarlane started in what? He was 298, right? That was his first
I
go.
believe,
I think so.
298 was his first
So-
ASM. Yeah.
So I mean, for him, he probably felt like he was a little handcuffed on the design, where he's just like this is my chance to shine. Like, let me do what I can do best. So,
Right.
you know, kudos to him to really putting his stance down and taking control of his character. He did a great job with it.
Yeah. No. And they did an awesome job. Michelini did an awesome job of writing the black suit out because he had MJ said, "How can you wear this suit that elicited these emotions in me, basically?" And he was like, "Oh yeah." And then he wears a Party City Spider-Man suit.
He uses her PTSD and is like, all right, we're gonna use this as a scapegoat to get rid of this.
Right. Before we move on, I just want to say there is a retconned first appearance of Venom, Web of Spider-Man number 18. I believe originally the character was supposed to be a female Venom, and they just retconned that whole storyline. And
there's legit a train going right by my house right now as we speak. So
but yeah, but I vaguely remember the storyline, but I think it was Spider-Man was fighting somebody, her husband died, she was pregnant, she lost a baby because of the stress of the death or something along those lines, and there was supposed to be a female Venom. And there wasn't. But Venom 2099, she is a female Venom, if you're interested in checking out a female Venom.
Well, and it's funny because the reason why they think that it's Venom is because you see, what the panel is that you see a hand come and push Peter Parker from the back, and he goes onto the train tracks and he almost dies. And he didn't have a spidey sense when the hand was coming in, so they just attributed it. It was like, oh, well, whenever Venom's around, he doesn't get that spidey sense. But if you notice, the hand isn't in symbiote mode.
Right.
So when he gets pushed, that's just like legit Eddie Brock, who is a regular human. So he probably should have that spidey sense because it's not Venom that's pushing him. It's just Eddie Brock.
Right.
That's where I was kind of confused. Like, I understand where they're trying to like push that narrative, but I was like, for me, I was like, if I saw a black hand, even if it was like a gloved hand, you can make a stretch.
Right.
But I was like
Just a plain hand.
Yeah. But that foible though, that the symbiote doesn't trigger the spidey sense, is one of my all-time favorite things because it's finally giving Spidey that kryptonite, to his situation where, like, nice. Now we have like an equal or perhaps better who is able to undermine like his ace in the hole.
Yeah,
and
just like Batman, we just named Martha.
Right. Maybe Eddie has an Aunt May. I don't know.
Also, one last thing before we move on, I did like the nod to the Thing, the extra ugly Thing, or the extra powered up Thing, where he has all the extra spikes and stuff, which was happening.
I forgot about that era of Fantastic Four where Ben was so even more fucked up than he was.
Yeah, he was not having a good time back then. All right. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
One thing that I did want to touch upon on this whole series, throughout it, the premise of the female character throughout all the storylines was either for like sexual exploitation or to do the dishes. It was like Aunt May takes Mary Jane aside and they're like, they're at dinner and they're cleaning the dishes, and then as Mary Jane, who they continuously have to tell us that she's beautiful, there's just like, they're like, oh no, she's beautiful, she's a model. And then but she said, like, she's like, I had to hire a maid, so there's another female character who's only there to specifically clean their apartment because she can't get her hands dishwasher hands.
She can't have dishpan hands. They look down on the dish.
But then it's like, oh, Peter, you're so stressed. Why don't I show you my boobs?
What do you got?
It was like a nod of like, this is how you need to take care of your man.
Right, yeah.
Yes, Nick?
Well, actually, that was kind of a powerful scene, isn't it? Because throughout the comic run, besides this, Mary Jane and Peter Parker, they're like that's true love, right?
Yeah, they're actually married by this point
Yeah,
in the
they're married.
comic.
No, I know. I'm saying
Yeah.
throughout the whole series, like decade at right, they retcon it. They're not together. They love each other. Blah blah blah. Right.
This was
Like, when she
before.
tells her,
Yeah, this.
it shows that she's just not like a beautiful face. She actually loves Peter and says, like, I know you don't want to intrude, but we want to see you here with Crush the both of us because like they grow up together in Queens, right?
Yeah, this was
That
all
was
before
kind of-
Mephisto came in and retconned
what
their
I'm saying is,
relationship.
that scene shows she's not just a hot model. Like she's with him for better or worse, knows he's Spider-Man and understands his responsibility.
Well, when she talks to Aunt May, yes.
Yeah,
Or
when
Aunt
she
May,
talks to Aunt May talking about it.
yeah, you can see that. Yeah, no, totally. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anybody has ever accused Mary Jane of not having good intentions. Like she's always very good intentions.
No, but I'm saying it's not just like there was a reason they were both in the kitchen doing dishes besides women do dishes.
No, but I'm just saying, but just the whole tone.
Not that I think women should do dishes. I get stuck doing the dishes a lot in this house. All right? And I cook too.
I really hope you have a comfortable couch, man, because that's. But
A lot in this house.
I like, and there was one panel when it's when Mary Jane's going to one of her photo shoots, and there's like a security guard that opens the door, and then he's just like, oh, he's like, I hope you have like a good shoot or something. The cop goes, oh, what a nice couple. I was like, wow, I was like, that's wholesome. I was like, they're really like relishing, like, you know, they're celebrating the fact that they have a good relationship. And then there's a down little bubble. It's like,
Nice legs.
Too.
I was like, yeah, you had it for a second.
There was a split second where I was hoping that he was talking about Peter.
But there's that, but there's that whole 80s, 90s over sexualization, and
Oh,
It was a
because
different time.
that stopped at the end of the 90s. Totally.
It totally reminded me when Captain America dressed up like a douche in Winter Soldier. Like he felt so out of place when they were like hiding when they went to the Apple store to the geniuses. Like that's how I felt like looking at him with like the sunglasses at night and everything.
Yeah. Oh, when you're talking about when Peter has on that club outfit.
Yeah. When he sees Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, that is by far my favorite outfit.
I was gonna say not to spoil anything, but that was gonna be my choice for my favorite Spidey uniform.
Yeah, which is gonna segue us into our next question: favorite Spider-Man suits. So first, let's discuss whether you prefer the black or the red and blue classic, and then just throw out whatever your favorite Spidey suit is. Hey, Nick. Why don't you? It would be so cool if my hand just like had a jump. We're gonna talk about. I want you just to talk about whether you preferred the black suit Spidey or the blue and red Spidey, and then just give me one of your favorite Spider-Man suits.
Okay. I like the black suit better personally. I mean, I kind of got into the animated series, and one of my favorite where they did like I'm looking at this. My first experience with Venom was the animated series and the suit. Which, by the way, totally did that better than Spider-Man 3, where he got emo and dance. That's another podcast. And I gotta say, I kind of like I like the Future Foundation one. That's just clean. I like the Superior Spider-Man one, and the Scarlet Spider with the hoodie. My dog also likes the Scarlet.
Apparently,
Spider.
yeah, agreed with the Scarlet Spider hoodie. Justin, I was gonna call you by your last name. I don't know why, which is not your real last name. What is that? You guys probably can't even see the name labels here, but I was gonna call him by what he had as his last name on the label. But Justin, why don't you discuss your favorite Spidey?
I love the classic Spider-Man. I love the red and the blue. I think it was just. It was a perfect segue into Todd McFarlane getting reins of the character. When I see the symbiote kind of outfit, I think of Venom. You know what I mean? Like that has been been like an icon for Venom, and I mean the whole purpose of him having the suit was the fact that he had the symbiote suit. It was trying to gain control of him. He realized that. Fantastic Four, they blasted it off of him. He rang it through on the church bells, and bam, now he's rid of the suit. but he was partial to it. So he ended up getting a copy made by Black Cat. So, I mean, just the whole premise of why he was wearing the black suit was, I mean, it was kind of campy. And I was like, you know what? Like, I like the original identity of Spider-Man. That's how I identify it, the superhero. So for me, it was a home run with it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll touch on that. Yeah, I also like the red and blue suit. Just for me, but I know it has to do a lot with me just being a kid and picking up the book. And had it been that black suit, I don't know if I would have been as drawn in to the Spider-Man character. There's just a certain you could relate certain soft. I don't want to say softness, but I can't find the right word. But there's just a certain inviting characteristic to the red and blacks. Red
Primary
and
colors, they speak to you on a very elemental level.
There we go. So yeah, so the all black suit it just very negative.
Well, and that's the thing.
Scary.
Spider-Man's he's a very witty, he's a very fun-loving character. So to have that bright color and that spark that kind of like pops out at you,
right,
that encompasses everything that you associate with Spider-Man. Batman being black and gloomy and like, oh, my parents are dead. Like, you kind of understand that part of the character because that's who he's supposed to be. He's supposed to be that grim character.
Right.
And
that's not what Peter Parker is, though.
Seeing Peter Parker trying to be like a serious and now he has like a darkness to him, I was like, I didn't vibe too well with that. I was like, I want the fun-loving, like, hey, it's me, Spidey, and then he's just kicking some ass.
Yeah. No, yeah, I totally agree. Eric, why don't you yeah, there we go. Why don't you discuss?
Yeah, I think the black suit just looks cool.
Right.
And
chic.
and it's part of my, inner goth emo kid. Like, it's just like, yeah, it's fucking dark, man. It's cool.
I mean,
like,
it's
dig it. Like, and I associate it with some of my favorite stories. Like I was saying, like Craven's Last Hunt. It's like one of my favorite stories, and that's that's so iconic, and it fits with that really dark tone. But I do have to say that the red and blue is just makes you feel good, and it's just it's the nostalgia. It's the fact that like this is a guy who could be mired. He could be Batman, but he chooses to elevate himself, and he chooses to keep this. And obviously, it's a struggle for him. It's sometimes it's just a front. He's just pretending to be this happy-go-lucky dude while inside he's being torn apart by everything. But the fact that he represents that with his costume, it makes people feel good, and it makes people in the world feel good, because it's like, it's your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. It's not what the fuck is this coming at me, Spider-Man?
Right.
It's so,
Black Widow Spider-Man.
Yeah, so he's there. He's bright and primary, and it's there so that the people that he's protecting know he's there and feel defended and feel good, and the bad guys can spot him and can clock him, and he's constantly drawing focus.
Yeah.
And I think that's key to who he is. So, yeah.
All right. And
but my if you want to say what my favorite is, it's Spidey 2099.
I love that. I love the end of what is it? Spider-Verse.
Yeah. I need me some Spidey 2099.
Yeah. Justin, did you have any other favorite Spider uni Spidey? He's trying to, or any Spidey character who fits into the mold?
I mean, I don't have one in particular that I really love. I mean, I appreciate all takes on him, because for me, I was like, I just love the character. It's like, I appreciate everybody's personal take on it, personal spin. So, I mean, I don't have one that really hits home with me that as like, I identify as like, that's the one to go to.
Gotcha. For me, if I had to pick a Peter Parker Spider-Man that kind of hits, I do like the cosmic version with the webs, which is kind of the one he's wearing there under the arms, as opposed to like no webs under the arm.
That was a nice little feeling.
Yeah, and then honestly, for me, I love the Miles Morales Spider-Man uni with the boom, but the when he had the spray painted If you ever watch the animated movie when he's like finally like realizes his powers and he's jumping off the building and that music is bumping and it's
Such
just
a good moment. Jesus
yeah,
Christ.
it brings
just
chills.
just hearing you say that fucking got me chills,
Yeah.
man.
It's like,
that's such a
oh,
great
goose
moment.
pimples. Yeah, I would watch the movie just to get to that moment, and then like that's it. I'm done. Like,
Good.
Yeah.
Is the movie
yes,
good?
it's amazing. I
So
own it.
fucking good.
It's
All
on.
right, I'll watch it. I'll watch
It's
it.
it's yeah. It's on streaming media, but I actually went and physically bought a copy these days, which is like virtually unheard of. But I was like, I just need to own this.
I need to.
Wait a minute, you bought Spider-Man 3. I can't trust you.
I bought it because it came with a free
He's
mask.
completionist.
I
Yeah.
actually want to for college about you.
No, I bought it. Yes, I bought it because it came with free shit. And as Eric said, I'm a completionist. I can't just buy 1 and 2 and not have the trilogy. Come on.
It's true.
Come on. All right, guys. So this is the part of the show where you get to just have any final thoughts about what we just said. I know after the question before the suit question, we kind of went off on a tangent, so we may not have much to say. But if anybody has anything to say, go ahead and throw it out there. I won't even call a name. Just be the first person to say it. Oh, all right. Well, we got an opinion right there. Yeah. All right.
It's it made me happy that random guy that you think is like looking to could be like Vulture, like an old man looking for him the whole time. You're like something bad's gonna happen, and he like comes to him and gets him a job. Because generally, like, well, the best Spider-Man stories, because Spider-Man is an everyman character where he has responsibility, so that means he makes sacrifices. So generally, if Spider-Man wins, Peter loses, or vice versa. Those are the best Spider-Man stories, in my opinion. But the fact that he just got a job and got his stuff together, and for me, like, it just bothers me, like, reading it where he, like, sabotages himself and is broke when he's, like, one of the smartest guys besides Reed Richards.
Yeah. Or that he wants to be a
Like,
photographer
like,
when he's like super smart.
Like, my favorite Spider-Man story is Big Time because he, like, kind of gets his shit together and works for, like, their Apple store or whatever.
Right.
So when he, like, got a job and, like, married, living in a great condo, like, I was like, good for you, Pete.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else got anything to add?
Balvini's kicking in.
I mean, I personally like the whole Spider-Man Venom interaction. I like the fact that when he was like, he realized that he was outpowered and he just had to outsmart him. And he's like, you know what? He's like, I've been in that vulnerable state. I've been under the grasp of the symbiote suit. So he knew, he's like, hey, I'm depleting his web. And it was great that he was able to beat Venom by having Venom beat himself. And that was, for me, I was like, that was awesome. It was just cool to see him be like, he outsmarted you. And it's like, not only is he the most, like, coolest, fun-loving fucking superhero, I was like, but he also was, like, so smart. So,
But I have such a love-hate with the fucking setup to that, though. Because it's like the classic fucking, and now you're in my death trap, and now I'm going to go away and assume that everything's going to plan. At least he has, like, a fucking reason.
and actually, you know what?
He's like, because this
Very
will kill
Austin
me.
Powers.
But
I'm so glad that you
like,
brought that up
Jesus
because I kind of had that off to the side and I totally forgot to talk about it. Was the fact that I was just like, Venom's main thing was like, I need to kill Peter Parker. Like, I know who he is. And it was like this whole, like, oh my God, like, he has this, like, pretty much like this evil stalker that's trying to, like, really just assassinate him. And he finally has him in his grasp. He gets to punch him in the face. And now he's knocked out. And then he takes the time to wrap him up and then just wait for the bell
He's
to, like,
so committed to
like,
this fucking, like,
yeah.
poetic justice. Like, just fucking tear his throat out if that's what you want to do. Like, why? Nobody gives a shit about how you did it.
It was like Austin Powers with the shark where he goes, I'm just going to close the door and assume he's dead.
No, and that's the joke because that's the fucking trope that everybody falls into.
Right.
Like, every
The
single
same
Bond
old-
movie did
Exactly.
that, where it's like, I'm going to leave this laser on, it's going to cut you in half, and I'm going to go have a meeting now.
Well, and actually that was one of the funny things, that the parallels between the fact that he kills the innocent security guard or police officer, and, like, you know, Eddie Brock has that, like, moment of realization. He's like, this is, like, I hate the fact that we have to, like, innocently kill. Like, that was, like, it made him distraught, the fact that he's just like, I had to go to those great lengths. So I was like, you had the person that you wanted to kill, and you just didn't take the shot.
Yeah, that's your fault, buddy.
That's on
You
you,
had to
dude.
kill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was also out of the norm of the character because Venom always protects innocence. Like that's kind of what
Well, that's the
launched
evolution.
the character into how
That's the
it's got to be
evolution of the
one of
character.
Marvel's
Yeah.
biggest books now.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what the character evolved to, was this guy who protects the innocent, and if he has to, he's gonna eat, the bad guy. Yeah.
So I just thought that was kind of odd to see that.
Yeah, but that's the early Venom, and as we know now, if you read the Venom series with Donny Cates, that it's evolved to a whole new thing. It has a thought process. It knows what it's doing, and now even Eddie Brock is a better person, especially now that he has a son. So the whole
Eddie Brock is fucking wholesome as shit now.
yeah, it's like my son. So,
I bet he didn't say nice legs.
I think
He does
the
have
big
some
question
nice
is,
abs.
do we do Venom
like the
next
guy would have
time?
said, sorry, the guy would have said nice legs, and you just would have seen Venom like, "Rup," just would have ate him. Like, don't do that.
He's his legs like, those were nice legs.
Right?
Do we need to do Venom in 2 weeks?
We could. We can do whatever.
I don't know.
We can do, if you want to do Venom. Hey, just because somebody picks a topic that has to do with the topic that somebody else the week before picked, that's called like just keeping the train going, just going with a theme. It's called.
I don't know.
with a
I got
theme.
so much Venom swag. I've spent so much money on.
Yeah. So hey, you do what you want to do.
That's
right.
what we call a teaser in the business, kid.
There you go. Teaser trailer. All right, guys. So I think it's we're gonna wrap it up.
Wait.
Oh, go ahead.
One question.
Yeah.
Why did you choose this book?
Yeah, why did you choose this book?
Oh shit. Well, personally for me, one, it was a personal grail, and somehow magically after I chose the book, I managed to obtain the book at a reasonable price.
That
Two,
is true. He's not bullshitting. Like he made this choice before he acquired the book. This is not just
Yeah.
set up to show up.
it just happened. Like I thought it was out of my price range, and somehow a copy that was in my range fell into my lap. Two, we have a transformation of Spider-Man from get out of here, from dark and brooding back to his happy-go-lucky Peter self, whereas we see in 301 he's back to telling jokes and he's like, you're welcome. And three, it's one of my favorite artists of all time. It's Todd McFarlane. It's during its infancy. As you can tell, I've got some of his artwork right there. It involves another character that's very iconic. You got the Venom stuff back there. I chose it overall because it was the first book, not 300 in general, but it was the first character that got me into comics. And I figured, why not pick something iconic that lets the people know why I love this character? So that is why, guys. Thank you for throwing that at me.
Great answer, but I think the real winner of this session is Justin for his commitment to the prop comedy. Unsung hero right there.
That guy. I really want to figure out how to do this and then have my finger come out pointing at you.
Yeah.
I know I could totally do it. I just have to spend more time in the editing room figuring it out. All right. So, guys, that has been Cocktails and Comics. I think we had an awesome time doing this. I know we had an awesome time drinking our beverages. So, guys, please join us on the next one. Cheers to everybody out there. And, we're going to go pour ourselves some new drinks and discuss this further after we close the shades on you. So, we'll see you next time. Do what you do. We're going to do what we do. We're going to discuss comics, have some fun. There you go. Peace out. Say bye, everybody.
It was
Deuces.